Soon we're all going to be dead. I can't stand it any more. She threw down the spear she had been carrying and sat on the ground, resting her head in her hands. It was her fault. That was all she could think. It was all her fault. When Aaron was away, she was supposed to be in charge. She couldn't remember when it had been decided. Aaron was the leader. She was second in command. It must have happened early on, when most of the kids had been too frightened and confused to do anything for themselves. Aaron and Maxie had just got on with it, organising everyone, keeping their spirits up. Aaron was clever and likeable. Right from the start, he'd kept his head and not panicked. He'd been captain of the football team at William Ellis School, and nothing ever seemed to freak him out. The two of them had worked together, a team. Maxie had always been good at getting other children to help out. They were better fighters than her, true, but they were happy for her to tell them what to do. They didn't want the responsibility, and when Aaron wasn't there, she was the leader. So, it was all her fault. Another kid gone. She shut down part of her mind. She didn't want to think about what the grown-ups would do to small Sam. She started to cry. She didn't care who saw it. Callum looked at Josh. They both felt awkward. In the end, it was Josh who squatted down next to her and put an arm around her shoulders. "It's all right, Max," he said quietly. "We'll be all right. Something'll happen. Someone'll come. Something's going to change. When Aaron and the others get back, we'll talk about it maybe, yeah? Make a plan." "What's the point?" said Maxie. "When Aaron gets back, yeah?" Maxie looked up into Josh's concerned, grubby face. "Sorry," she said. "Come on," said Callum. "Let's try and find out how they got over the wall. Then we should get back inside." "Yeah." Maxie jumped up. It was okay as long as you were doing something, as long as you didn't stop and think. She wished Aaron were here, though. She always felt safer when he was around. It was just... what was he going to think? Another kid gone. All her fault. Chapter 2. A burster was lying in the middle of the road. A father, by the looks of it, though it was hard to tell. He had the familiar look of a vegetable or a piece of fruit left too long in the sun, the skin blackened, shriveled and split, the overripe flesh squeezing out. His insides had turned to mush. This was what happened if any grown-up lived long enough to let the disease run its full course. They literally burst. Aaron prodded the body with his trainer. As he did so, the skin popped and a stream of pus oozed out, followed by a bright pink blossom of soft fat. Aaron was leading the scavenger party, tall, fair-haired and athletic. He had a knife in his belt and carried a pickaxe handle as a club. "Gross," sniggered the boy at his side, who had a shock of curly hair, bleached almost white. "Come on, we don't have time for this." Aaron turned his back on the corpse and carried on up the Holloway Road. When the disaster first happened, the kids had been appalled and fascinated by dead bodies. Now they were used to them. They hardly even noticed them. A burster, though, was still a little special. The scavenger party took up their positions with Aaron and trudged on. They hadn't gone another 100 yards, however, before the bleach-haired boy, Deke, slowed down. "What's that?" They stopped and listened. "Dogs," said another boy, and he moved to the front. He was shorter than Aaron and not as strong. He had proved time and time again, though, that fighting was not all about strength. Aaron was the leader, but Achilles was the best fighter of them all, with a wiry build, dark eyes and olive skin. He spent most of his spare time shaving elaborate patterns into his short hair. He could be moody and sarcastic and quick to lose his temper, but nobody much minded because he'd saved them all many times with his combat skills. He moved fast, used his brain, and was utterly ruthless in a fight. They waited. They could hear the dogs long before they saw them, a cacophony of howling, yelping and barking. All jumbled together, it sounded like a single mad beast. Achilles levelled his spear, pointing it towards the noise. It was made from a metal spike he'd found on a building site. It had a heavy lump at one end, and he'd sharpened the other into a vicious point. It was perfect for keeping grown-ups at bay. He could stab with the front and use the back end to batter them. It was definitely not for throwing. Too precious for that. Aaron took up a defensive position behind him next to Freak and Deke. Freak and Deke were a team, best mates. Before the disaster, they'd taken to the streets armed only with spray cans.